Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Farsi Show presented by MyBookie, MyBookie.ag. It is wonderful to have you along for the ride. So the day started with hearing from Jeremy Fowler about A.J. Brown, about the fact that the Eagles are expected to at least take calls on moving on from A.J. Brown. It's like, oh, A.J. Brown's back in the news through no fault of his own. This is just reporting by Jeremy Fowler. And then in that same beautiful Thursday, Nick Castellanos news comes out about the Phillies parting ways officially with their former all-star right fielder. What a day. Now, that's not the end of it. That's only the beginning of it, because shortly thereafter, Matt Gelb of The Athletic drops a absolute beaut of a story about Nick Castellanos on that June 16th incident in Miami that we've referenced a couple of times over the last couple of weeks here on the Farsi Show, about how that was the end-all, be-all moment. I didn't know that it became that bad. And let me tell you something. Rob Thompson doing what he did that night, wrong. It was wrong of Rob Thompson. However, one wrong and one absolute no question wrong do not make a right. Rob Thompson should not have taken out a guy who had started that many consecutive games, had been an all-star for you, had just played every single day for you. You don't just abruptly take him out of a game. Defensive purposes or not, I know it's a 2-run ball game. Phillies ended up winning the game, but from a baseball perspective, you don't take that man out, especially when it's Max Kepler being moved over to right field. People think it was Johan Rojas. Johan Rojas went to center, and the big issue is it went from a 2-run lead to a 1-run lead, and then the Phillies tacked on one more run in the top of the 8th inning in Miami, and Johan Rojas made the final out. Now, I don't know about you, but you could be the biggest Nick Castellanos hater, whatever, on the planet. I'd rather have Nick Castellanos at the plate as opposed to Johan Rojas at the plate. Okay. And Johan Rojas is, well, really Nick Castellanos' spot in the order came up in that instance, so they didn't have a better bat in the instance. So I said that night, and I maintain that Rob Thompson made the wrong managerial decision. Then the story comes out. Now, wow. After that happened, according to this story from Matt Gelb on The Athletic, after the June 16th defensive replacement, Nick Castellanos did not. You could almost hear them yelling. You could hear him yelling on the TV broadcast. We didn't know what it was at the time, but apparently what had gone down was Nick Castellanos, you probably heard by now, but in case you hadn't, he walked into the clubhouse, grabbed a beer, to be more specific, an El Presidente, and sat down in the dugout and was like, well, I guess if I'm not playing, I'm on vacation. And before he could take a sip, Howie Kendrick came over, a couple other veterans came over, took the beer out of his hands and kind of walked him away from the situation. After the game, Dave Dombrowski, Rob Thompson had a conversation. They agreed to bench Nick Castellanos for one game the following day, snapping his consecutive game streak. And then all was right with the world until the Phillies acquired Harrison Bader. And then Nick Castellanos became, it got worse than a beer. He did not exactly become the best teammate. Apparently, he had not been the best teammate even before the June 16th incident. And it all came to a head yesterday with finally releasing him. Now, I hate the way this was handled by Dave Dombrowski because I feel like he just absolutely waved the white flag well before he had to wave the white flag. The article does point out that they had made calls for some time regarding the opportunity to trade Nick Castellanos, no takers. I would go ahead and assume that him bringing a beer into the clubhouse had something to do with the idea of him not being able to be traded. I would assume that him publicly saying he doesn't get along with the manager would have something to do with not being able to move him. Now, you might say, oh, you could get something. Apparently not, because it seemed that everybody, literally everybody in the baseball world knew about what was going on behind closed doors. And if Nick Castellanos is even letting it out publicly, saying that, the communication's terrible with this manager, then people are going to start doing a little bit of digging and say, hey, what's going on there? Players know each other. Players talk to each other. Managers know each other. Managers talk to each other. Owners, general managers, assistant to general managers. Hell, the Bat Boys probably text. You know what I'm saying? So I think the rest of the league understood that Nick Castellanos was going to be available, and all it was going to cost you was money, and probably not a lot of it because the Phillies have to pay $20 million here. So when I heard, and oh man, some people were like, oh, he says that about a lot of people. When Dave Dombrowski came out at his end of the year press conference and he was asked about Nick Castellanos, and you guys have listened to the show, you guys know what I've said about this the entire time. When he said, hey, Dave, what about Nick Castellanos' future? Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. He's under contract for one more year. What happened to the little gamesmanship, even if you were trying to trade him? Thinking, oh, we love Nick. Nick's a great teammate. The guys in the clubhouse love him. Everything's great. Oh, there was a bump in the road earlier in the year, but we've ironed that out. Nope. We'll see. So he spends the next handful of months trying to trade him. No surprise there. You already showed your cards. I could get him for free in a couple more months. Sure enough, yesterday happens. Also, regarding the beer in the clubhouse, it violates Major League Baseball's open container of alcohol policy. I'd love to read that policy, especially when we've seen the Phillies celebrate divisional titles, except if you make it to the playoffs. Okay, fine. But anyway, he goes into the dugout with a beer. Power move. Dumb move, but power move there, Nick. I look back on this and I think good riddance. Because for a guy that, and the article even points out that players were torn on Nick Castellanos because they didn't know how to feel about him when it came to a guy being a good teammate or being a bad employee. Because on one hand, you're talking about Rob Thompson can't communicate, and we even mentioned this yesterday. The only guy to ever complain about Rob Thompson's lack of communication, because apparently it was just one guy having an issue. That seems more of a you problem than a Rob Thompson problem. And then the other, he's running up to Orion Kerkering after the awful play he made in the postseason just to make sure that he was all right. Also pointing out, extending invites to young call-ups. Hey, if you don't have a place to stay, crash at my place, that type of thing. That's what a guy. What a guy. I think Nick Castellanos really enjoyed being a contrarian and forcibly thinking outside the box. Not that this has anything to do with baseball, but an example of it. Hey, who's your favorite superhero? Scooby-Doo. Huh? Okay. Whatever. See you. Bye. Like, that's just an example. But there's a part of me that enjoys that. There's a part okay. Let's be a little unique. Okay. Be your own person. Fine. But when it comes to my manager has embarrassed me, so now I'm going to try to embarrass him kind of thing. Let's no control here. I'll drink a beer in the clubhouse or in the dugout if I want to. Okay. Not exactly the best move and childish. Stomping your feet and throwing a hissy fit. Childish. Even if you don't agree with Rob Thompson, your manager's decision to take you out of a game for a defensive replacement, all of a sudden, that's not how you handle it, man. I mean, we talk all the time in life about handling adversity. That's not how you handle it. Nope. Now, could Rob Thompson have handled that situation better? Yes, of course he could. I still don't agree with it. But, man, Nick Castellanos makes you forget about anything that Rob Thompson may or may not have done wrong in that situation by the way he handled it. So, to go back to this, let's talk about what matters above all else. Nick Castellanos is not that good of a baseball player, unfortunately. I've mentioned before, regular 275 hitter in the lineup to 250 last year. Then you go into the postseason. He hit 133 in the postseason. A couple of great moments here and there, but few and far between. 2 years ago, he was one of the only guys that actually hit in the playoffs against the Mets. Hit well over 400. Of course, his on-base percentage, I believe, was 427 on 407 on base, or 407. Wait, do I have it here? I do. 412 batting average in the postseason, 412 on base percentage in the postseason 2 years ago. Last year, 133 batting average, 133 on base percentage. Amazing. But it's time to move on. And the other part about it that also makes you think, oh, yeah, they didn't have a chance of trading him. They already got Adolis Garcia. And what, Rob Thompson and Dave Dombrowski? Oh, yeah, well, we have our new right fielder. Nick Castellanos still here, man. For anybody holding out hope for the last minute that they get something for him, wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. But look, we knew that it was all going to come to a head like it did yesterday, where he just wasn't going to be here anymore. You knew Adolis Garcia was going to be the guy in right field. It was acknowledged by the organization already by both Rob Thompson and Dave Dombrowski. When we talk about the idea of running this back, we talk about changing things up. We don't want to see Nick Castellanos flailing away at the first pitch. I know he hit well over 400, swinging at the first pitch. Yippee. But also he would get 2 strikes on him, 1-2 count, and it would be over. Over. Chasing balls in the dirt. One of my memories that will live on with Nick Castellanos involves Chase Utley. If you remember, Nick Castellanos swings at a ball like Odubel Herrera style that bounced well in front of home plate, and Nick Castellanos swung at that pitch. So geared up for a fastball, I guess, didn't even care, just said, oh, man, I'm going to take a rip at this one. Swung at a ball in the dirt. Maybe the next day or 2 days later, Phillies have Chase Utley in the broadcast booth. He's over from London, the ambassador of Major League Baseball to England, right? And how's cricket? How's cricket over there, Chase? That's great. Well, Nick, maybe he's a good cricket player. He swung at a ball in the dirt the other day. For those that don't know, in cricket, you got to bounce the ball to the wicket protector. I don't even know what you call him. The batter. And Chase Utley laughs. And the broadcast crew's like, no. John Kruk had a field day with it. No. He actually did that. Nick Castellanos actually swung at a ball that bounced in the dirt. And Chase Utley, in typical Chase response, huh. They had a few words as always. The way this ends for me is good riddance. Phillies needed to move on. They had already moved on as an organization. They just hadn't dropped the hammer yet. All right? They served the papers yesterday. Signed. See you later. I could understand how a player that has been an all-star in his career, that has had a good career, that is a veteran, I could understand how a player like that, wants, some respects. I mean, think about any workplace. Like if you've been at a company for a couple of years and you're getting treated like a rookie or whatever, or you've been in a company for a long time, and you get treated like you just showed up, like, there's a certain respect there. You want the acknowledgement that you've worked your ass off for the company, whatever, and someone just pulls the rug out from under you. You want some kind of conversation there. Now, I understand that's not the way you have to do things, but I do believe there's a certain respect, and I don't think Nick Castellanos thought he was afforded that respect. So I could get being upset. I can't get how you handle that the way he did. The other thing that I found very interesting about all this, as far as background goes on this story, is Nick Castellanos apparently just wanted to go to Miami before he signed with the Phillies. Miami, shocking, could not come up with money that the Phillies were coming up with, $100 million, for instance. So Nick Castellanos said, all right, let's go with the money. Let's go to Philadelphia. And they went to Philadelphia. And still searching, anybody else want me? Anybody else want me? No? Okay. He instructed his agent, Scott Boras, before he signed with the Phils. Anybody else? Anybody else? No? All right. Generational wealth, here I come. I guess we'll just have to settle for that. So when you put it like that, when the article describes it like that, it makes it all about the money. And hey, when isn't it, right? But when the article mentions that, it also makes you feel like one foot was out the door already. Couldn't have 100% of what he wanted. Settled for the financial aspect of what he wanted. And that's that. And hey, it worked out for him for the financial aspect. Unfortunately, here in Philly, it didn't work out to the tune of a World Series championship. One of the other things that will live on in my memory from this whole Nick Castellanos saga is I didn't go to college. I hit baseballs. That's something that will certainly resonate with me. The other part of this is you're going from a guy who last year certainly struggled in the playoffs to a guy that has thrived in the postseason, and Adolis Garcia. Coming here from the Texas Rangers, he's a guy that has had success in the postseason. He's a guy that has won a World Series, and he's a guy that I think a lot of people will grow to like here in Philadelphia. You're upgrading at the defensive spot, no doubt about that. When you look at his regular season numbers, he has certainly left a lot to be desired. In right field, Gold Glover. He's also a two-time All-Star. He's a playoff MVP. Bottom line is you're upgrading the right field position. So for me, it still comes down to what's the rest of this story going to look like for the Philadelphia Phillies? Is it going to look like Justin Crawford having himself a solid rookie campaign, being a difference maker? Is it going to look like Aiden Miller taking on a starter's role? Bryson Stott turning a corner. Alec Boehm providing some pop. What is this going to look like? It's all going to depend on the young guys on this team, and maybe the new addition in Adolis Garcia. So that's what I look at. That's what I look at with this Phillies team as far as what the difference could be. Shifting gears now to A.J. Brown. Jeremy Fowler put it out there yesterday on ESPN's Get Up saying that the Philadelphia Eagles are expected to take calls. I want to be very clear in what the terminology was there. Expected to take calls on A.J. Brown. Okay. Why? I mean, in all honesty, why wouldn't they? When I hear a report like that, I know a lot of people run with it, change some words, and be like, the Eagles are pushing A.J. Brown out the door. No. But they take – Howie Roseman has maintained this over his last two media sessions when asked about A.J. Brown. It's hard to get great players, and he's a great player. He did not have a great year. Just like I've said about Jalen Hurts, he's number 3 on my blame list for this season. Number 1, I look at the offensive line. Number 2, I look at Kevin Patullo. Number 3, I look at Jalen Hurts. When all those things are not going well, yeah, I could look at A.J. Brown and say, yeah, I could understand why he didn't have such a great year. But that does not excuse the opportunities that were there for A.J. Brown for him to make a play, and he did not make that play because he either quit on a ball or he made a mistake while running his route. And what I mean by that is losing track of where the football is. That's on A.J. Drops, certainly, on A.J. Getting held and not throwing your hands up in the air, trying to get a pass interference call, that's on A.J. Those are things he could have done better this season. The obvious, most obvious of all of them is, hey, maybe not have somebody drops against the Chargers. Maybe actually make more of an effort for a ball against the San Francisco 49ers. Try to get that pass interference call against the Bills in the first half. All these are things that, yeah, it might be one play, but one play that would have a great impact on the rest of the game and whether or not you win or lose, maybe. And maybe why you're not walking on a tightrope in the fourth quarter against the Bills. Or maybe you put the 49ers away and they don't have a chance to come back in that game. Didn't happen, unfortunately. So I understand the frustration around A.J. Brown. I still want A.J. Brown back next year because I think he's a really talented player. And you look at Sean Mannion and do hope, and this is all you can do in this offseason. No evidence of Mannion great, some whiz kid or anything like that. Maybe he does creativity. Maybe he does some of the things in this offense that they've been missing. Maybe he does bring in a new run scheme here that'll make Saquon Barkley look amazing again. Maybe he has Jalen Hurts expand his comfort zone on what he's ready to, or what he's willing to throw, when he's willing to throw, where he's willing to throw with more consistency. Maybe that opens things up for A.J. Brown. But here's the bottom line. Just like Nick Castellanos, you can't be handed a bad situation and make it worse. And as I was saying throughout last year, whether it was the ball that he quit on against the Broncos that could have been a difference maker when he got behind the defense and the ball was there, but he stopped running, or whatever it was throughout this season, when you have opportunities like that, you have to capitalize. When you know those opportunities are going to be so few and far between, you can't go less than 100. especially if you're the guy to hint to everybody that there are problems in Camelot. And A.J. Brown did that last year. He quit. You got to capitalize on those opportunities. When you know they're going to be few and far between and your number might get called, you got to go all out. And he did not do that last year. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARS to get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's phlsportsnation.com. Unfortunately, something must have happened in traffic, so I have to get to Fox 29 because my time just jumped up drastically. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Back with you guys today. Locked on 76ers, 10 o'clock. Locked on Eagles Squad show at noon. Full squad will report today. Jason Martinez, Harry Mays, yours truly, and Louis DiBiase as well. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.